it's me again, your girl Debbie Egbonu, and you're welcome back to my channel. And I'm super duper excited because it's a brand new day. It comes with its own opportunity. And what about you? What are you excited about today as you're watching this video? I would like to know, so please put in the comments one thing that you're excited about today. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about mental health, and I have a special guest in the house, a medical doctor, and she's going to be talking about what you need to do to be mentally fit. You would agree with me that your health is your wealth, and there is need to continuously, constantly taking care of yourself to be mentally fit, to be focused, and to attain that height you have set for yourself. So please don't go away. Stay tuned. Thank you, Dr. Theresa, for joining me today on Be Inspired, and you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, and to my amazing audience, we have a special guest in the house. She is a medical doctor and she is a specialist in mental health. She worked briefly as a medical journalist, and currently she's working with NHS. So thank you once again, my wonderful and amazing special guest in the house.
Thank you, Deborah. Nice to be here.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about mental health. You would agree with me that a lot has really happened this year, especially with COVID-19. I remember that at a point, a lot of people were so worried about their health and that of their loved ones, especially with the physical distancing. And I'm so sure that that affected a lot of people psychologically. So what do you have to say about what mental illness is?
Well, mental illness, like broadly, you would just say when there's an absence of mental well-being. I think the definition can be a bit subjective because there are varied things that people would feel it's a form of illness for them. It could be possibly not feeling able to cope with things, or maybe just being depressed, or it could be more severe forms. But usually when you start thinking this may be an illness, is if you're having problems being able to do the things you do day to day. When you think your mental health have been affected up to that extent, then possibly you may consider that you have a mental illness and that you may need to see a medical person.
All right, okay, so do you want to touch on what exactly are the causes of this mental illness?
Well, like I've said, mental illnesses are really varied, from depression to more severe ones where people are very sick and they see things that people can't see, or other forms of behavior. But if you were talking about mental health, the causes could be anything. It could be from biology. Maybe you got something from your parents, like maybe you have some certain genes that would make it more easy for you to become ill if you're affected by some certain stressors. Or it could be possibly during birth you suffer some injury that would make it more likely for you to have certain mental illnesses. But more commonly, most people would identify that they have a mental illness when they are under overwhelming stress, when they've had very adverse health experiences happen to them. Maybe you've been abused emotionally, physically, sexually, or you've had to go through a long term in incarceration, prison, or maybe you lost a loved one or something. So usually more people could point to that as the time when they experience their first mental illness. However, the causes are really very wide, and yeah.
Okay, so do we want to say that COVID-19 could as well be a factor to mental illness?
It could be, yes, because it's an overwhelming stress. It's something that makes people not to be able to continue with where they were at before the whole pandemic started. And even though these are very early days, we wouldn't know what effect the coronavirus will have on the brain. For example, when people have stroke, the chances that they'll have depression is very, very high. So that could well be one of the features of COVID. We don't know. So the effect on mental health potentially could be very, very great, high. And at this time, we wouldn't know yet how bad that impact would be. But certainly from the social things involved, like not being able to see people that you love, not being able to get that support, that interpersonal relationship definitely would have a lot of impact on people who already have a mental illness or people who don't even have any yet.
Okay, you talked about overwhelming stress. Now, I know that could be one of the symptoms, if I'm right. So do you want to talk about other symptoms of mental illness?
Well, the symptoms of mental illness, usually you could say it's like a range. Any normal human expression can be exaggerated, if you understand what I mean. Like, it's normal to worry, but when you worry excessively, that could be a symptom. It's sometimes within normal to be sad, but when you are very, very sad, that could be a symptom of depression. And sometimes I think maybe when you're sleeping, sometimes you may think maybe someone called your name or something. But when you start having these experiences when you're not sleeping in real life persistently, then that could be a symptom of mental illness. So sometimes it may just be an exaggeration of what normal human beings feel. But like I said, once it's affecting your ability to be able to do the things you normally do, to feel like you're in charge of yourself, then that could be a pointer that it may be leading to an illness. Other symptoms are maybe it's poor sleep, you're not able to eat, you're not able to take care of yourself or your children. You get these other unusual experiences like strange smell, strange taste that can be explained by any other thing. Some people don't remember who they are, where they are. So the symptoms are so, how would I say, it's not, it's really, enormous. So.
Okay, so at what point do we need to seek for medical help? So at what point?
When you don't think you can cope with it.
Okay.
I think then is very important. But sometimes by then you're too ill to notice that you're ill, because that's something that mental health does to you. Since it's an illness of the brain, sometimes when you're ill, you don't have that faculty, the ability for you to be able to critically examine yourself and say, I am ill. So that's why some people who have mental health problems don't get to see anyone if there isn't maybe neighbors or family that could recognize for a fact that you are different and that you certainly need some form of help. So sometimes before you get to that stage to recognize that you're behaving differently and you're not coping, you may not be able to help yourself. And then other times as well, it's not just okay to wait till when you feel you can't cope. Sometimes it's good to, if you feel this is a thing of concern, even if you're not going to be on medications, you could get some form of counseling or something that could help. So I think it usually depends on the person. When you feel this is a problem that you may need some help with, then I think it's wise to just have that checked out.
Okay, all right, thank you. And that was really amazing. And the next question I have is, so how do we maintain mental health, especially during crises such as this pandemic? So is there anything that, as an individual, I'm supposed to do all the time to maintain mental health all the time?
Yeah, well, we sometimes, I think inherently most human beings know what is good for their health. Like, I think the problem is sometimes we don't have that time to do all those things we want, that we know is good for us, like eating healthy, sleeping well, taking some form of exercise, keeping in touch with loved ones, making sure you take the time out to just de-stress, to care for yourself, like maybe soaking in the bathtub, just something for yourself, and then remembering to seek for help. Um, so those are, how would I say, day-to-day things that we all know is helpful for mental health. I know online you could get really very good infographics of 10 things to do to keep yourself mentally healthy, things like that. They are usually very simple day-to-day things. But sometimes when we engage in these activities, they increase like the happy hormones in our brains, the endorphins. So they make you feel more happy, you feel more useful, like people that volunteer. So those are some of the things that are important. But most especially in this pandemic, it's really necessary to try to have a routine. It's not just okay to wake up and just be in bed, not doing anything, because you can't even tell Monday from Friday, you can tell 3 p.m. from 3 a.m. I think that's not very good for the human mind, because you don't really have any goal to work towards to, and that certainly wouldn't do well for your mental health in any way.
All right. Okay, so and what I could grab from what you've just said is, to be mentally fit, you also need to have you need to have something doing that would also help you to have mental health. All
Yeah.
right, you also talked about sleeping well. How well? So if I have a routine and on a daily basis, let's say I just sleep on a daily basis for 5 hours, is that enough?
The sleep is very varied. Like when you're a child and you grow up, you become an adult, you become elderly, your sleep will change as well. When you're a child, you spend almost all your daytime sleeping. And then when you're an adolescent, you could sleep happily for 10 hours, you're great. As an adult, it's harder. You may just be able to manage 6 hours. And then when you're more elderly, some people just maybe 5 hours or less. But usually it's advisable that you should be able to sleep between 6 to 8 hours,
Okay.
or maybe, yeah. Or if you want to stretch that, maybe say 5 hours, but 6 to 8 hours is actually advised for most adults. So it would be important to try to have that time for sleep, because if you don't sleep enough, of course, you wouldn't be able to function properly during the day. And sometimes if, like during the pandemic, if you find yourself taking naps in the day, certainly it will affect your nighttime sleep. So that's
Okay.
something to
Okay.
think about.
All right. Okay. So, what other advice do you have for those watching? If there is anything you want to tell them, as we are currently experiencing this pandemic, so what other words do you have for those watching?
I would say it's important to be kind to yourself. Most of us, even I inclusive, sometimes you're not able to go out and do things, and or maybe you have a lot of things to do and you're not meeting up the target. It's important to remember that this hasn't happened to most of us before, and we don't have any manual about how to go about living in a pandemic. So it's okay not to meet your targets. It's okay to sometimes sleep all day. It's okay to feel lonely. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. But the thing is, you can't really give up. So if you feel overwhelmed today, just think, what can I do? Maybe I could call a friend. Maybe I could do a Zoom call. Maybe I could do a video call. Maybe I can paint or something, and just get up and do that. And if you feel you need help, I think it'd be totally understandable now if you seek help. So you just remember that there's always an option. Nothing is, how would I say, nothing is finished until it's finished. So I think that's what.
Absolutely. So there is no point pretending that all is well when it's not actually well. So when you feel you need to seek medical help, you need to seek help from friends, family, colleagues, we should go ahead and do that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. And sincerely, you would agree with me that we've had an interesting moment, still very short, but I would say that I've learned a lot from what you've said about, managing stress, talking about overwhelming fear and causes, symptoms of this mental illness. Thank you so much, and I'm really happy having you here with me today. I would say that it's been an interesting moment with you, and I hope to see you more often on the show talking about health, right?
Yeah, if that's helpful in any way.
Yes, it's actually been very helpful, and thank you. I really enjoy having you here with me today. And to those watching as well, thank you so much for watching. And I will see you in my next video. And before then, please make sure that you take care of yourself. When you need to seek medical help, please do so. And take care and bye for now.